Welcome to Little Talks, your weekly dose of marketing news, trends, and insights from Littlefield Agency. Grab your coffee, turn up the volume, and let's get into it.
And welcome back to another edition of Little Talks, Littlefield Agency. I'm Sam Sunburnt Littlefield, and with me is
Steve Whitey Roop.
you didn't get burned.
No, I avoided it.
How was your 4th of July?
It's fine.
Yeah,
we were outside a little bit.
Will you tell our listeners and our viewers that you have the best front porch seat in all of Tulsa to view the river fireworks?
I hope someone from the city of Tulsa, whoever is in charge of fireworks, listens to the podcast.
I don't think there are, but I'll keep you posted.
Well, let's make sure they get this message. Where's the camera? I'm looking right at it.
There you go. Get them.
You screwed me this year.
Oh no!
Yeah. So
no fireworks?
Normally, I can see the fireworks from the river from my porch.
Yeah.
At worst case, I live on a corner. I can go to the corner, sit in the corner and see them.
Yeah, not too bad.
This year they started, and we weren't seeing them, but we could kind of just vaguely off closer to where Oktoberfest is.
Okay.
Start to see a little bit above the lines. We ended up walking 2 or 3 blocks, which I know that's not a lot. But the point was I didn't want to have to leave my house.
100%.
I'd walk 2 or 3 blocks, beer in hand, and sit by the highway to see a clear shot of them through the trees. And they weren't really making it much above the trees. And I live pretty close to the river.
Yeah, Roop is literally 6 blocks.
It was so uncharacteristic of the fireworks displays in Tulsa. I told my wife and my kids who were with me, hey, I don't think this is it. This is something else going on. And they're like, no, Dad, this is it. And I was like, no, this can't be. It's in the wrong spot. It's pitiful. It was the right one.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, it was really weird.
That's the first time ever, right?
Yeah, it was the first time it had been like that. I thought, well, maybe they were saving up for the big 250 next year or something. They cheaped out on it. But like the location, and I kept thinking, man, all the people was the gathering place. Did they have a good view? Because that's further south than I was.
Yeah. Huh.
Kind of wild.
That, Chris Kaiser at the gathering.
Oh, mic malfunction.
Chris Kaiser was at the gathering place.
Oh, I'm going to ask him.
So you'll have to ask him. Well, that is a bummer. If the city of Tulsa is listening, Roop will get you.
I just named names.
We say Roop will go Roop on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that hadn't happened in a long time. Shoot, man.
The city is in charge of those, right? And they get a sponsor like Quick Trip or something.
I'm pretty sure. Well, you were safe, though.
Yeah, I lived through it.
You lived through it. For those that are listening, we hope you had a safe and wonderful 4th of July. It's beautiful weather here in Tulsa. We found lots of pools. Again, if you're watching this video, you're going to see I'm very red in the forehead. But that's going to turn into a tan, baby. Summertime Sammy. We're excited. So wishing you guys a wonderful 4th. Roop has big news. Tomorrow is what number?
Tomorrow is my
putting you on the spot.
12th wedding anniversary.
12th wedding anniversary. Roopster, happy Annie, brother. Happy anniversary to you and Carrie.
Thank you very much.
The reason I know that we have our Q2 executive offsite tomorrow. It's one of my favorite days of the quarter.
It's not Q3?
So yes, it is. We are in Q3, but it's reviewing the progress we made in Q2.
I did do the homework.
I had to end up canceling the happy hour we normally do afterwards just with the executive team, and Roop actually thanked me.
Yeah, because I have to go have a happy hour later that night.
With your lovely brother. You get to. There you go, Claud.
I was panicking about it because usually as an offsite, we have a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
I thought, man, I can't go to my anniversary drunk.
Yeah. Let's see, it all worked out. Well, today we have a great, a timely, and a wonderful topic for you coming your way. Claude, we are calling this hiring Gen Z marketers. Is it a culture clash or a superpower? And we really shouldn't even talk. Should Claudia just take over?
That's how they prefer it.
Anyway, before we dive in here, and I do, Claude, we have your camera on, right?
Yes.
I want to zoom in on Claude here multiple times throughout. We have a lot of clients. I have a lot of prospective clients that are very curious. Hey, what's it like? You guys are a younger agency. You have a lot of people that are between the ages of anywhere. We've got Allison. Are you 20, 21? 21 years old in lit turns to 28, 29-year-old employees. We have a lot of full-time employees that are young and they're Gen Z.
Yeah.
And dang, you are interesting, Claude. And I say that in the best way possible. So we're going to talk about what is it like to work with Gen Z in the world of marketing. They have many different preferences marketing-wise than we do. Now, here's the fun thing. I'm a millennial. You are a
Gen X.
You're Gen X, baby. So we got 3 different generations in here, which is really weird to say. And what's really weird to say is when we were talking to Claudia right before this, she was like, yeah, I'm so excited. I was established in 2000.
Which sounds cool.
That sounds super cool.
Sounds cool.
When were you established, Rube?
1973. Does not roll off the tongue.
I was established in 1991. And fun fact for those of you listening, we are now closer to 2050 than we are to the year 2000.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Those blow my mind.
Insane. So we're going to kick this off, Rube. I want to have you kind of start it off. Claude, I would love to hear your thoughts. Call BS on us. If we're saying something crazy, you call us out.
I feel like it's just going to be a constant shift to Claudia's camera getting facial reactions to the stuff we're talking about.
Claude, be kind in your facial reactions.
I will.
Let's start with the first one. I think it's a very good point. Rube, go ahead.
So the approach on this is hiring Gen Z marketers. What's it like? And we do have a lot of them, as you mentioned.
We do.
Is
We've
it a
got
culture?
5.
Is it a culture? 5?
Yeah.
I feel like it's more.
Claude, Philip, Taylor Armstrong, Kenny.
Zach is one too.
Zach
I think.
is one. Zach's right on the edge.
Becca.
Zach is one. Becca.
Becca.
So there's 6. And then, I think we have 6. Mm-hmm. Okay, continue.
They represent well.
Yeah.
It feels like there's.
By the way, that's a fourth of our agency.
Yeah, it's a lot. So the idea was is this a culture clash for us or is it a superpower? And right off the top, I want to say that it is a little bit of both, but I think culture clash in all the best ways.
Yeah, 100%.
When you're a marketer.
I don't say clash in a negative or bad way.
No, not at all. In fact, I think instinctively most generations have some unspoken war with the one above them and below them, and definitely all of them below them. My generation doesn't quite feel that way, I think, in general. We're kind of a little bit more like, yeah, whatever. But I look at marketers that are coming in as Gen Z as another opportunity to learn from people you may be marketing to, right? Mm-hmm. So like no matter what your current client's or customer's age is, at some point this group here will be the people you're marketing to.
Well, and here's the thing. I remember I've been at the agency for 9 years now, and millennials were all the rave when I was joining the agency. And they kept on talking about how different and how crazy and how much we loved our avocado toast. And then here we are. Guess what is the bulk buying power of the world? Millennials. Guess who's about to be the bulk buying power? Our friends over here at Gen Z.
Yeah.
We start off with, and I think this is really important, of course, I'm assuming Gen Z likes to be paid.
Yes.
And paychecks are nice, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, what's your go-to? How do you order food, Claude?
DoorDash.
How many times a week?
How many times a week?
Yeah.
It used to be like 3 to 4.
Now it's like, what, 5 or 6?
No, I really have been trying to eat at home and not do that anymore.
We're trying right now, too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And DoorDash is amazing. I've learned so much from Claude in the last year and a half. But we bring this up because, of course, everyone needs to get paid and they'd have a roof over their heads. Purpose is huge.
Yeah, the Gen Z values of purpose and impact are actually things that tend to trend higher for them than a paycheck or monetary reward.
And Claude, would you say like that? Has that been, most of your adult life that you guys want to feel this sense of purpose? And of course, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
But walk us through that.
I would say, working under Roop has been really nice because I do really like that kind of affirmation in a job. It gives me purpose and is very rewarding. Obviously, paycheck is nice, but I personally do better if someone is constantly, or not constantly, but just being genuine and telling me like you're doing a good job. And I've had jobs in the past where it's not been like that, and it's harder for me to go to a job and not feel any purpose.
Well, I would say, Claude, would you agree with the fact that I'd say Roop is a pretty hands-off boss?
Yes.
Ooh,
sort of, but not really. Like he's not like overbearing and micromanaging me.
She didn't know the script for
so that's the thing, because I feel like when I grew up with my first job, my first couple of jobs, my bosses were very micromanaging. They were all up in your business.
Same.
Really just my performance is a reflection on them.
Yeah.
And of course you want Claude to do well, but I think more of a hands-off approach, giving you some leniency. Claude, would you agree?
Yeah, because then if I do, screw up or whatever, like I don't feel like it's the end of the world, and he makes me feel better about like my mistakes. Like I can grow from my mistakes instead of like.
And that's how it says purpose and impact. I think that's how people gain purpose.
Yes.
Is through mistakes and learning and hands-on. And the impact, Claudia definitely wants to have an impact here. Like we've had discussions about, hey, how can this be better? How could this be better? She's brought stuff to me I haven't even thought of. So that first bullet point here definitely rings true in my experience with Gen Z at the
Well, I think
office.
Here's the crazy thing, Miss. Established in 2000, when the iPhone came out, Claude was 7 years old. right? Like I didn't grow
Right.
when I was in middle school. You're obviously a little bit older, Roop, late middle school, early high school. But you all are tech first. Like you grew up with the phone. Would you say that you grew up with the phone in your hand?
I wouldn't say like an iPhone or a smartphone.
Okay.
I grew up without all of that. But middle school, yeah, I had an iPhone.
Yeah.
So I was always on the internet and, looking around.
So them being, we call this on here digital natives.
Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
Is their tech fluency is actually a superpower. It's useful. It's I don't want to sound old. I wish Rocco in here, I could make him do it. Like sometimes stuff just doesn't work the way you think it should, and you're frustrated, and you're whatever. They don't really approach it that same way. They're a little bit more fluent in how things can work, should work, or finding an alternative to it to work. I think that's definitely a superpower when you're in this business and you're dealing with a lot of digital tools and assets. I don't really think I have to go explain to her how to upload a file or how to do a thing.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
It's fairly inherent.
Well, and I think too, like one thing that we've really noticed in the last couple of years is, of course, there's a moment, we've talked about this on our podcast before, there's that moment for high impact, beautiful, polished video, let's say, right? And then, Claude and her generation, that raw, natural, quick iPhone shots, like we're seeing that TikTok huge opportunity for that. Like there's so many, I feel like you're the jack of all trades sometimes, Claude, in the sense of like you're very versatile. You can do a lot of different things that I feel like 10 years ago, those employees wouldn't have those skill sets because you weren't with them all the time.
Perfect example. She was hired to work on CRM and work on content and emails, and she's producing a podcast now, running video and audio equipment. So, yeah, definitely very multi-purpose.
So, Claude, talk to us about like work-life balance, flexibility, boundaries, burnout. You heard David Littlefield on the podcast. He started this agency so he didn't have to work 6 days a week. A lot has changed since the pandemic, especially, which is, when did you graduate college, Claude?
2023.
2023.
So I was right in the middle of it during college.
You were a pandemic student.
I was.
So talk to your expectations, your thoughts, but, of course, impact is important, but your life is very important. Everyone's life is important, but walk us through kind of your thinking there.
I mean, I think it was a huge culture shock getting a job and not having as much flexibility as I did in college. I always had a job in college. And it was like way more flexible. Like I could always hang out with my friends and I always had time to do stuff. And working, I was like, wow, like it's just going to be 8 to 5 and then I'm going to get off work and then I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do it all the next day, like over and over and over again. It's going to be like Groundhog Day. I was like,
this was how you thought it was.
This is what I thought it was going to be like.
For sure.
I obviously lucked out with this job. With all of the flexibility and the work-life balance is amazing because I feel like I do have time to have time to myself, which is extremely important to me. It helps me get through my day. Like I need time to work out and, spend time with my friends and my family. And so working here has been a blessing.
So Claude, and by the way, we're going to pay you after this.
Well, I was just told we wouldn't have to anymore. Purpose and impact over paycheck.
But I do have a serious question. So let's say you didn't work at the agency, or I hope you're here for a long time, but let's say you go on to your next gig, and your employer is much more demanding, longer hours, not as much flexibility. Do you feel, and again, I understand you're party of one stakeholder representing a massive generation, but would you be like, hey, you know what, like, life's too short, I'm not doing this. Like, I'll go find something else. Would you grin and bear it? Would you, if there's opportunities for you to work up that, I don't want to call it corporate ladder, but there's opportunities for you to grow in your career? Like, I would love to hear your thoughts there.
I personally do not think that I would stay at a company that treated me as a number and not as a person. Because that's not the kind of person that I am. Life is way too short, and I want every opportunity to have every opportunity to be like myself. And, I like to vacation and I like to, spend time outside of work. I don't want work to be my entire life and then retire and be like, wow, I wish I would have, spent more time on something else than working, because I do have friends and peers that are my age, and we call it being a corporate slave. That's what they call themselves. Like they're working 6 days a week and they feel like they don't have any time to be like a person. They're just working and working and working and working, and it's frustrating and it's upsetting, and I'm just glad that I don't have to do that, because if I had to, I don't think I'd be very happy.
So she's spoiled right out of the gate. This being her first job.
Yeah.
So future employers, if there are any, I'm sorry. But like that goes to something I think we've talked a lot about as a leadership team here at the agency is how do we cultivate new talent, and how do we make sure we have the right people in the right seats and bring them in. And how do we tap into this generation that is the next generation? I mean,
Totally.
you're not going to go hire a 75-year-old for the spot. You need young talent. So that flexibility and boundary and burnout concept that she just talked about is right from our notes.
And Claude, my follow-up question I know you're speaking on behalf of your friends here. Do they see a light at the end of the tunnel? Like I have a lot of friends 10 years ago that were working 60 to 80 hours a week because they wanted that next promotion, et cetera. Do they see that as an opportunity? Like, hey, you know what, screw this. To your point, life's too short. Don't want to do this, and go to the next.
I think it depends on the person, because like I have a lot of friends that are girls, and they want to be a mother, and they feel like if they were to work too much, then they wouldn't have time to be like with their kids and whatnot. So like I don't know, to be honest. I can't really speak on behalf of everyone, but
for sure.
I don't know. I think a lot of those people that I do speak to are very negative about it, and they're very unhappy. Yeah. So it's sad.
I mean,
it's sad.
You look at the superpower aspect of this, right? It's an amazing outlook to have in your mid-20s, early 20s, whatever the kind of age range of your friends is, because, I mean, she's not wrong.
No.
A lot of hours that I worked many moons ago that I never got back.
Yeah,
so I mean,
and I do think this in terms of like kind of work schedule, because we're very flexible.
Yep, of course.
Here,
and of course we still have to get our work done. We still have to do great things for our clients.
Exactly, which brings me to, I think if you've cultivated a culture where people feel like they have that flexibility and they can take care of themselves mentally and physically, and are able to have a nice work-life balance, when it comes time that we have to, if it does, work a 60-hour week, I think that group's more likely to say, hey, we're all in this together and let's go do it. There's a purpose to it.
Yes, there's a purpose.
Not just hey, the boss is saying you got to do it, right? You've built up a concept of purpose that leads into greater things.
And we're very fortunate. Very rarely do we have to work a 60-hour week. But, and Claude, you know this, sometimes we call it flexing up. Sometimes you've got to flex up to a 50-hour week. And there's minimal times a year that happens. But to your point, Roop, right? Hey, we're in this together. It's not just Claude working by herself and by her lonesome. And again, rarely happens. But I think that's a great point, and also a lesson for the marketers listening, business owners, whoever. That sense of purpose is huge, and the fact that it doesn't happen habitually, I think, is very important. Yeah. So there's one more point I want to make, because I've got to jump to a meeting here in a second. Claude, communication style.
In what way?
How do you like to be communicated to?
I mean, I personally like it like face to face. I like that. Or do you mean like
what about digitally?
Digitally?
Would you rather me call you or text you?
I feel like I text you a lot.
I would rather a text, I think.
How many times have I called you?
I think to get the job.
I think she's right.
Yeah, okay, very rarely.
So fun side fact on that real quick. When we hired Claudia, we were sending her emails telling her she got the job, and she wasn't replying. And a week or so went, 2
days goes by, and Julie
a long
Evans
time went
like,
by,
hey.
and Julie, our HR, is like, she's not replying to the emails. And I said, you know what? Why don't you text her and see what happens? And she immediately replied.
Boom, she was pumped.
Yep.
Yeah, text is the way.
But it's really interesting, because I message you a lot on Teams. So you and I will call each other from time to time. Yeah. I text Claude. Very rarely do I, and I think I used to Slack you when we had Slack, Claude, but then I was like, yeah, you know what, I know she's quicker on text.
I think we have a text thread.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So no, I always find that, and again, it's so interesting, like adapting to how the next generation is communicating. I think that's important. You as a company, as a department, as a team, there's just so many different ways. And you and I have added up over the years. There's a lot of different ways to communicate with internal team members.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just, hey, just go directly to the source, do your thing, and on to the next.
And I would say, when it comes to Gen Z, the concept is probably, if you're older, you want to fight it, but that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, just don't.
And here's the thing for
find the positives and tap into those. They're there.
Well,
you just got to find
totally
them.
There. You absolutely do. And I have little cousins that are right around Claude's age, and they're in similar positions, and they have bosses that might be in their 50s or 60s. And there is I don't want to call it a clash, but there's two misunderstandings. And so I think, again, the marketers that are listening, business owners, whoever's listening to this podcast, reach out to us because we'd love to discuss. There's happy middle ground where both parties win. And at the end of the day, we're collectively rowing the boat in the right direction, in the same direction. It's just a matter of, I think it comes down, Claude, to communication and then making sure that your cup is filled every day. Because if you're just going through the motions, that gets old real quick.
Yeah, it does.
Look at this. Okay, Claude, do you know you're going to talk this much today?
No, I had no idea.
And truly, impromptu, I was like, Claude, we're going to put you on the spot a lot. I appreciate the candidness of you. And that's the other thing. They're transparent people, and I like it.
Yeah.
I always know where I stand with Claudia, and it is refreshing. It's a good thing.
Claude was out last week, and I had to do Claude's job.
Claude, I missed you last week. Welcome back.
I had to do Claude's job while she was gone, which is fine. That's how we cover for each other. But boy, I'm glad she's back.
Claude, see, look at that.
Well, I'm happy to be back.
Yes. And would you say with that break coming back, you're refreshed, you're ready to go?
Yes. Yes.
I love it. So, hey, to our prospective clients, to our clients, talk to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I have a lot of one-on-one conversations with clients that either don't work with Gen Z or maybe have one or two. And we're fortunate enough that we have 1/4 of our agency. That's a good stat to know. That are Gen Z.
The number will just grow.
And I enjoy working with them every day. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Roop, this is a great topic. I appreciate it. I hope everyone had a happy 4th. I hope this man has a happy 12th wedding anniversary. And we will catch you all next week. Thank you so much.
Adios.
And that's a wrap. We hope you found a spark of inspiration for your marketing strategy. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us at Littlefield Agency to keep the conversation going. Catch you next time.